We are kicking fall off, giving you guys a Fall Friday tutorial every Friday from now leading up until Halloween. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how I take these plain Jane clear wine glasses and throw some glitter on there, throw a little bit of a cutesy wootsy pastel decals, and it just looks like you have this magic elixir in your hand that you're drinking. And I think it'd be fun, you know, especially if you're going to like a Halloween party or a little Halloween mixer. You can hand them out to your friends. You can make a bunch of them. They're pretty easy, very straightforward to make. Okay. I'm going to create a pastel series here. I went to my silhouette and I pulled out some bats, I pulled out some ghosts, some bones, and some little pumpkin jack-o'-lantern faces. And the goal here is to see these little elements shine through from the inside. Got to make sure that your vinyl is the same color on the backside. What I mean by that is when you peel back your vinyl, make sure it's the same color. So it's not gray or it's not white, because that's the side that we're gonna see from the inside of the wine glass. One thing to keep in mind, you can probably use a large decal, but it's gonna be very tricky, especially since the wine glass is very curvy. You're gonna have to wrap this on that curve. So I don't wanna fuss with any of that. I don't like it to pucker. I don't like the lifts and the bubbles. So I'm going to size it down to a nice manageable size so that way it doesn't pucker and it lies flat. Once I have sent it through my silhouette machine, then I pull my negative space and I'm left with a bunch of little decals like this, okay? I'm going to randomly place them. I'm not gonna worry about transferring it like with transfer tape as a whole because it probably won't work out that way for me. It will pucker. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna hand place them one by one. Just play around with it. See how it fits for your wine glass. If you wanna put a message in there, just make sure that you mirror your image if you want it to say something, because it will show through from the inside. Okay, now that we have our decals down and everything is nice and dandy, I'm going to put some Wicked Stick It. This is the Thicc Wicked Stick It, and it is a tacky glue that once it dries, it's still tacky. So you can put down your glitter on top of that, your fine glitter, your semi-fine glitter, and you can burnish it. That's just kind of what I wanted to do here. Okay, I'm gonna put down one thin layer of this Wicked shimmer. Then I'm gonna set them upside down and let them dry overnight. And when I come back the next day, it's gonna be ready for some glitter. Okay. Now to apply the glitter. This is the fun part. This is my favorite part. Couple tips here when you are doing glitter on glass. I like to use a fine, medium fine cut. I don't really like to use chunky because then it's gonna really make your glass thick and it could make it a little wobbly on the bottom because the chunks are bigger and you're gonna have to add epoxy on top of those chunks and blah, blah, blah. I always just stick to a medium cut or a fine cut, just so that way I can pat it down and I know that the epoxy just has to cover those smaller flakes. I'm going to pick a glitter to pair with these that is a different color. I'm not gonna do white on white or teal on teal or mint on mint or pink on pink. No, I want it to stand apart. Remember, we're sticking with the fine or the semi-fine because we want to burnish this. Now, it is very subtle, okay? The color of the glitter is very subtle. It's very sheer. Again, I didn't want to pile it on too much. I just wanted it to have that light glitter. I'm going to just seal this glitter in place with some UV epoxy. I looked at them, they were missing something. I said, I want to put down some very, white veins like clouds and like a fog with a mixture of some moon dust in there to kind of give it a very, I don't know. I wanted it to be sparkly, okay? So we have a few moon dusts here. If you have not had a chance to own some moon dust, oh, they're all so pretty. I love them. They're a thicker flake. So when you put it in your resin or if you put it down on your cup, it has a texture to it. It's very different from a glitter shimmer powder or a glitter in general. It makes it 10 times sparklier than a regular glitter because it has so much texture on each flake. So I mixed up some of my Flint Sisters epoxy. This is the fast cure because, you know, I want to get it done. So I mixed up a little bit of that. I'm putting down a very, very thin layer. Okay. Only reason I'm putting this down right now is because I do want my white dye and my glitter epoxy to move fluidly. Is that a word? To be more fluid when it's being placed down on the cup. Best rule for that, put down a thin layer of epoxy. Then you put your white and your glitter down. Okay, so I have my white mix here and I'm just going to use my popsicle stick to kind of just draw some lines on there. Very nice and easy. And I'm going to take my time and I'm going to build this up. Okay. You don't want it to be too thick. You can always scrape it off, but who wants to do that, right? Let's just take our time and let's just drag them out. Naturally, they're going to spread out. Okay. Because it is floating on top of that thin layer of epoxy. Take your heat gun if it's not moving fast enough, or if you want it to have more of a flowy, spread out look, or if you want it to thin out so much that it becomes like a fog, you can hit it with your heat gun, play around with it, do all different kinds of things with that and see how it works out. If you don't like it, worst comes to worst, scrape it off with your popsicle stick, okay? You can always just do that. You can always just scrape it right off. That's the good thing. Once I put down my white, then I come back in with my moon dust mix and I just drag it on through the white. So if I see too much of a white or if I see a big chunk of white, I'm going to break it up with some of my moon dust mix. This is later on in the day. It's cured, but it's still a little tacky. I'm going to take some of my foil sheets because I love a touch of gold on all my projects. I just love the way that the metal and the glistening from the glitter and just the matte from like the dye, it all kind of clashes together. It looks really cool. So I don't need to use a glue or adhesive for this part right here because the cup is still sort of tacky and this foil is just so light that if I just put it down on there and I push it into that surface, it's going to stick to it. Once I have the gold set and shaped exactly how I want it, then I'm ready to give it a final coat of epoxy. And there you have it. You have a series of fall wine glasses. Hand these out at the next party, give them to your friends, pair them with a nice bottle of wine or some spritzer or some sangria. Give them to your girls, give them to the gang. Everybody loves a nice festive little thing to drink out of. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any questions, comments, please leave them down in the comment section below. I will list all the materials that I used in the description. As always, like and subscribe and enjoy the fall season. This is my favorite time of the year. So I'll be seeing you guys next Friday with another fall inspired tutorial. I hope you're excited because I'm excited.